Top of the morning to you all. Welcome back to Poetry and Police. As usual, before I go any further, before I say another word, I must say enough respect, big up to my subscribers, big up to the members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, members of the nursing fraternity, teachers, JDF members, and all civil servants in Jamaica. I know right now that the whole salary package between the teachers and the police and the government and probably even the JDF too is not a good situation for our country at this time. And like they say, many of our teachers are leaving, and there was a new article that most of our police officers are leaving too. And you cannot blame people for leaving a country that does not appreciate them or does not appreciate how much they are being paid based off of the cost of living. So people are not directly leaving their jobs, but rather they are leaving a job that is not paying sufficient salary based off of cost of living. But we will talk about that in a different video. I just want to shout out to the teachers and tell them hold fast. Both police officers, hold fast. And even though I do believe that the government is not ready to even start beginning to pay teachers and police officers, and I don't think they are even interested to pay us the amount that we want to be paid. So let's talk about that some other time. Today my topic will be what the Chief Justice Brian Sykes was asserting, that the change in fines in criminal cases because of the fines, the new fines that have been introduced by the government, that there will be a backlog of cases before the courts. And we all know, as a former detective, that when cases are backlogged before the court, there are nothing but madness that can go on a court. But I do agree with Brian Sykes, his assertion in some way, but I do believe that the changes in the sentences as it relates to criminal offense, I do believe that should not play a role in causing case backlogs in Jamaica. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. As a former detective, when I was before the court, and I have a matter before the court, and this matter is a matter that straightforward matter, a matter that can go to trial straight, because I'm not the kind of detective who used to send a file before the court and have shortcomings. The only thing that will be missing off my file if it's a illegal possession of firearm case would be the ballistics, because you know that we have to take the firearm to the forensic department and we have to wait on the forensic to come back. So that would be the only hold up in my case as it relates to going forward with my case. But listen, people, the backlogs in the cases will not be caused by the new fines that have been implemented as a result of the criminal charges, but rather it will be as a result of the attorneys, the defense attorneys in the case, their actions. And it would all depend on the police officers presenting the case before the court, to their actions, how they drag their feet. Because let me tell you something, you know. Let me start. I'm a police officer, so let me start on the police officers. Because during my tenure as a policeman, I've been to court and I see simple cases before the court that police officers fail to put their files together. That it even came down, the court was complaining about it, and then people was being put in place in police stations, a sergeant or even inspector at one point, to do case management, to ensure that every case that goes before the court is ready for court and is ready for trial at the same time, that everything is on that file, every statement is on that file. So this is one of the things that may cause backlog with case. Police officers not completing their files, police officers not going to court. Those are the things that can cause backlog. All right, we don't deal with the police officers part now. Now, on the part of the attorney, a policeman sends, I'm not going to say not a policeman. When I send a case before the court to the prosecutor, my case file is always completed. And like I said, the only thing that would be missing off my case file would be the ballistics. And that will come quick. Alright? No, even when the ballistics is on the file, you know, the defense lawyers always find some way to slow up the matter, especially when the police officer has a good case. Some of these defense attorneys, they might be in another court, and they will not show up on that day because they were in another court. So they keep putting off the case files. They keep putting off trial dates. Some of these attorneys do this thing purposely to sideline the case as a defense attorney, because they know that when I put a case file before, defense attorneys always try to sideline my cases, because guess what? They know that when I put a case before the court, that name conviction. If I recover a fireman and bring a man before the court, him can't get away from me. So the attorney knows this, so they know that they cannot get around the case, get around the detective in the case. So they find other ways to sideline the case by not showing up before the court, talking about they're in another case, and keep putting off the court because they have a whole lot of cases. The attorneys themselves has a whole lot of cases too. But let me tell you something, people. Not because the fines for charges have gone up, that doesn't mean that the cases before the court is gone up. A regular day is like a regular thing before the court. Every day police are arresting people on a regular basis the same way. So the influx of cases might be the same. And if police officers are working way harder, then you will have more cases before the court. But most of the time, that what is causing the backlogs in these cases is the behavior of the defense attorney and the behavior of some flicker fool police, some police who don't understand them things, some police who bring files before the court incompleted. So to prevent this backlog on the side of the police, a sub-officer, which is I think is already put in place, has to vet all files before they go to the court to ensure that this file is completed before it is sent before the court. That means when that is done, it is not, the whole backlog will not be coming from the side of the police officer, because the files are completed by the police officers, and now we are just waiting on the court to continue to trial, which the defense attorney in the case is always the one who is causing the problems in the case. Now that I've explained what can cause a backlog on the police side and what is causing the backlog on the attorney's side, because remember, the police officer work with the prosecution. So if the policeman file is ready, the prosecution is ready for trial. And I've been to court several times in my cases and I was told that we are ready for trial, but the defense attorney is not ready for trial. So, Mr. Sykes, I'm not saying that your assertion about the new fines in criminal cases can cause backlog. I'm not saying 100% that you are wrong. But what I'm saying to you now, Mr. Sykes, as a Chief Justice, that you have to delegate on the side of the professionalism of the defense counsels to ensure that when a file is ready for court, that these defense counsels are present in court, and these defense counsels answer to these trial cases and they prioritize these trial cases. Once a matter is ready for trial, then the defense must be present. You can't have a trial matter and yet still you're gone to another a preliminary matter. So that is what is calling back. So the judiciary system itself, they need to work on the behavior or the approach of the defense attorneys in every case to ensure that there is no backlog. Because I am telling you, it's the police who cause the backlog and the defense attorneys who cause the backlog. And if the police, the aspect of the police side is being controlled from the station by the sub-officers to ensure that all files are completed before sent before the court, then the backlog cannot be caused from the attorneys, which from time to time, it is in most cases, is the attorney. Because I have been ready for trial in many cases, and yet I've been ready for trial in most of my cases from the first day I put my file before the court, and yet the case take 2 years. Why? because the defense attorney keep putting up the case. Now, Mr. Sykes is the Chief Justice. So therefore, instead of asserting and instead of talking, what he needs to do is address this issue first and foremost. He needs to address the dragging of the feet of defense attorneys. That is what he needs to address. And he needs to address the aspect of a suspect before the court, an accused man before the court who does not have an attorney, that an attorney is appointed to this man as soon as possible so the matter can continue. Because most of these accused persons before the court, they are charged, they cannot afford an attorney, yet they want to choose which attorney is assigned to their cases. And every time the matter goes before the court, because they know they will be convicted, like a case that I had, the accused man changed 5 attorneys. And as a result of changing those 5 attorneys, that accused man was in custody for over 2 years before the matter went to trial. And the matter was not being held up because of the file, because my file was completed, ballistic was on file, everything was on file, all statements was on file. I and my corroborating officer, Tyrone Simit, we were ready for trial from day one. And it was the attorney in the case, the accused in this case, who kept on changing attorneys even though he could not afford an attorney. And it reached to the level that it was when he was changing the 5th attorney that the judge decided that, listen me, you are not going to change another attorney. This is the last attorney. You have to work with this attorney or you have to defend yourself. So these are the issues that can cause the backlog of cases. How can a case be caused backlog? Well, what we are saying that we have too much cases before the court. The night court was implemented in half a tree to deal with the backlog of cases. And I must admit that police officers from time to time, dereliction of their duties cause backlog cases to be backlogged because they carry files before the court that are incomplete. So the Commissioner of Police, along with his head of divisions, has to ensure that all files that police officers are sent before the court is properly vetted and ready for court. No shortcomings on the police side. And Brian Sykes on the other side has to control the attorneys. He has to control the judiciary. He has to control that. Because that is where the other backlog comes in with defense attorneys. They have too much cases. And as a result of that, they are not prioritizing which case. They are not prioritizing the trial cases because they don't care what they come before the court. They get PR ready, then come before the court. They have a preliminary hearing, yet still they have a trial hearing, and they're not coming to the trial hearing, yet the matter is still on the list. You have matters on the list for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. For what? Why would a matter be on the court list for 5 years, 2, 3, 4, 5 years for what? When the file is completed. And if the file is not completed, people, and it is caused by the dereliction of duty by the police officer, then the relevant action should be taken against that police officer. The matter should be thrown out of court, and that police officer should be dealt with according to the proper disciplinary actions from the Commissioner of Police. Because you cannot send a file before the court and the file is not completed. You're wasting the court's time. So as a result of it, you need to be dealt with accordingly at your station level by the police officer. The commissioner should put disciplinary actions in place, specific disciplinary actions in place to deal with these kind of police officers, because they exist. I've seen them. I used to feel so embarrassed sitting before the court with files before the court, short everything, not even complaint and statement. You tell me now. The thing is, how can a man come to you as a police officer and report a case of shooting or a case of robbery? The first thing you're supposed to do as a policeman is interview that man. And upon interviewing that man, you should collect a statement from that man. And when you collect a statement from that man, you should visit the scene of the crime. And if you find any spent shells or whatever, you send them to the lab ASAP. And what is left to put on the file? Ballistics? your statement, the complainant statement. That's pretty much it. So why can't you complete the file? So you have these kind of police officers who collects report from people and let the complainant leave the station because they are lazy without collecting a statement. And then guess what? They have the stupidity now. The dereliction of duty then. The don't care mentality to hand in a case file for a shooting before the circuit court without the complainant statement. Those files should be refused by the court. And a matter of fact, with the new thing in my time that was coming out, that the files has to be vetted before they go to court. So no file is supposed to send from any police station, in any case, without the complainant statement or the relevant documents, so the file can be completed. And I think that the police department has been working on that. So as a result, that should not cause any backlogs. I don't understand, Mr. Sykes, why the raising fines should cause case backlogs. I don't see it. I don't agree with you 100%. I know that with the backlogs of case, with the new fines, and the fines are more and the sentences are more, then the defense attorney will fight more and try to draw out the case for a longer time. That's just it. So things has to be put in place so the defense attorney do not waste the court's time. Because from time to time as a police officer, when I was in the court, if a policeman is late for court, it's problem. And when an attorney is late for the case, there is no problem. A policeman will be sitting in court all morning, waiting for his case to call up. Worst if the complainant does not have an attorney, and every attorney does come in and call your case, and the policeman is sitting there all day, and his case is not called because the attorneys are given priority in the courts. And at the same time, these attorneys are the ones who are holding up the court process from time to time. They are the ones who are causing the backlogs in the case. So Mr. Sykes, you need to address that issue of the attorneys causing the case to be backlogged. So don't just come and assert that the new fines for criminal offenses will cause the backlog in cases. No. The new fine doesn't cause more offenses. It should cause less, though. But like I have said from time to time, if you will believe what I said to you people, if you agree with what I am saying to you now, that I do not believe that the implementation of more exorbitant fines for offenses will put any dent in the commission of crime in this country. I do not believe so. Look around you. Since the implementation of the new Firearm Act, and now there's more implementations of other acts and other fines to be changed, to be more hefty fines to be allotted for other criminal offenses. Look around you. What do you see this reducing crime in any way in this country? Nothing will reduce crime in Jamaica until corruption is removed from the judiciary, from the police department, from politics in Jamaica. Those three departments. Until corruption, let me repeat this. Until corruption is removed from the police department, from the political arena, then the crime in Jamaica will continue to escalate, and it will continue to escalate more, and heftier fines will not deter the actions of the criminals that are in Jamaica. You must remember that Jamaican criminals can be classified as terrorists these days. For example, since these fines have came out, look how much firearms police have been recovered. People are still walking firearms, probably even more. Look at the robberies that are taking place in Jamaica now. A man is not even going to rob a cash like the other day. They robbed 3 security guards in Portmore Pines, and it was a murder robbery. They could have held them at gunpoint, so it was a robbery alone. But still, these men choose to rob and kill. It's a robbery murder. So these criminals are not holding back because of these fines. They don't care about fines. The only thing that these criminals see in Jamaica, the Jamaican criminal, the only thing that they see is the leprechaun. The only thing that they see is the money that they will get from the commission of their crime. They don't think about the fines. They don't think about police. They don't think about people's lives. Our society in Jamaica is a loose society. It is safe to say that Jamaica is not a real place. And the teachers in Jamaica are getting fed up because they have their own problems in the classroom with the salary and plus the behavior of students because the society is getting so violent against teachers. The police department is seeing a hope of lasting employment because people are working for nothing and police lives are in more danger now than it was 2 years ago. The weapons that these guys are traveling with on the streets are no normal weapon. Yet, the authority is saying that detectives must not carry M16 rifles. So, look at the system properly and see if the system that is put in place is put to make the police job easier, to make the teachers' job easier. No, the system that is put in place is to allow crime to escalate more violently. The robbery in Portmore Pines was nothing short of violence. You can't add nothing more upon that. It passed violent. It's a terrorist act. And I want you people to look at the situation, you know what I'm talking about right now. The security officers who were killed were transporting that amount over $10 million in a soft vehicle, in a car, in a motor car, in a soft vehicle, which according to the Security Act, according to the rules of security, that no money should be transported in a soft vehicle but a hard vehicle. When I say a hard vehicle, I mean an armored vehicle. So these security guard companies, these cash in transit companies, they are breaching the whole security thing by allowing security officers to carry money in vehicles that can be easily shut up. They're sending the men to die for the money. They're sending these men to their death because they're not providing any proper security for these security officers. They do not have the right vehicle to transport the money. And if those guards that were killed in Portmore Pines was given the right vehicle to carry that money, their lives may have been spared. Recently, 3 or 4 people was killed in the Golden Spring area. You think these gunmen are playing? No matter the fine where you come in, these gunmen are not playing. It doesn't matter the fine. It does not matter the fine. I will say it does not matter the fine. You could have given them 1 million a year for gun or 1 million a year for shooting, 1 million a year for murder. They will not stop. So, that is the only thing that Mr. Sykes has said that I believe in. That raising the fines for various offenses will cause reduction in crime. It will not. It is not a deterrent for these guys to stop committing crime. It is not a catalyst either. Crime will always be committed in Jamaica because Jamaica is a very violent society. Jamaica is not a real place. People always say Jamaica, no problem. It's the other way around. Jamaica is nothing but problems. So, Mr. Sykes, instead of asserting, you have made one point clear that I 100% agree with you on, that the fines will not cause crime to slow down in Jamaica. Definitely so, it will not. I agree with you on that because I have been saying that from the onset of this whole change on the matter. But when you are asserting that the fines will cause backlash, I disagree with you 80%. What you need to do is address the judiciary. You need to address the defense attorneys. You need to ensure that these defense attorneys come to court and these defense attorneys go to trial when the case is ready for trial, and stop pulling their legs and stop dragging their feet and stop hiding from court. If a policeman is absent from court, a warrant is issued for him, and nowadays judges are putting policemen in the docks. If a lawyer is absent from court, well, nobody does that to him, no. Everybody say counsel was in another court, and that's it. The policeman is not showing any respect before the court, but the attorney is. We are all officers of the court, as Tom Tavares Fincy said to me at one point when I was a young cop, when I met him for the first time and he introduced himself to me. He was like, I was a young cop, so he was giving me advice. He was saying, Mr. Blake, we are all officers of the court. So if we are all officers of the court, why is the defense attorney given more leeway than the police officers? Why is the defense attorneys allowed to use all type of tactics to delay these cases that can cause backlog, but not the police officer? Well, then the police officer should never do that, because a police officer's responsibilities is to ensure that a file is placed before the court ready for trial. You hear what I said? It's the policeman's duty to send a file before the court ready for trial, and once a file is ready for trial, the prosecution should ensure that the matter is tried as quick as possible. And the prosecutor should ensure that you do not buy too much excuses from these attorneys for too much of a long time that will cause the backlog. Because what these attorneys do, these are strategies sometimes where they know that they cannot win the case. They use strategies to draw out the case, to victimize the witnesses in the case, to let the witnesses get tired of coming to court. And in the end, fail to come to court because guess what them say? Me can't these was going for 3 years or 2 years or 4 years or 5 years. Me can't bother with this. Me now go back to court, Are the witnesses killed? And then what happens to the case? This case sits on the file trying to find the witness for 3, 4, 5 more years before they decide that, let's show it off the list. And then the pressure comes on the policeman now to find his witness. You go before the court, the judge is asking, where is the witness? In the first place, the police is not the reason why the witness decide not to come to court anymore. The witness decide not to come to court anymore because every time the witness comes to court, the defense attorney finds some reason for the matter to be put off. So these are the things that need to be addressed before the court. The prosecution need to address this. Mr. Brian Sykes need to address these behavior by the defense attorneys. The manipulative behavior of the defense attorneys. Try and manipulate the policeman in the box. Don't manipulate the case so the cases are dragged out and cause backlog. These are the pointers. These are the things that need to be identified by Mr. Sykes. The prosecution need to point out these to Mr. Sykes, so therefore things can put in place. And if an attorney is purposely finding excuses so the case can be dragged out for years in court, then they should be dealt with according to some kind of rules. Any new rules should be put in place. Remember, I said it to you. Jamaica does not have a criminal problem. Jamaica has a corruption problem. Corruption in parliament, corruption in police department, corruption in the judiciary department. That is our problem in Jamaica. That is our problem in Jamaica. And that is what Mr. Sykes need to address. Mr. Sykes, you need to address the judiciary. The commissioner of police need to address the police officers who are lagging when it comes to putting their file before the court. And then, when all those issues shall have been dealt with, then, and only then, you can see a smooth flow when a case is presented before the court. The police officer, the prosecution is ready because the police officer is ready, and the attorney make themselves ready for trial once the case file is ready. No excuses from any attorney. A case is ready, the case is ready. No excuses. That is all I am saying on the topic. It's a wide topic and we can talk about more. But let's talk about it some other time.